America's future depends on true energy alternatives. The United States has all of the energy it needs right here in its own domestic market. Nonetheless, we import tens of billions of dollars worth of oil from foreign countries every year just to run our cars. We stamp out obvious, viable, clean energy technologies like nuclear energy because of irrational fears about atomic catastrophes. We impede innovation into energies of the future because our government sticks so stringently to the status quo. It is beyond time to find a new solution. Newt Gingrich and others have pointed out the fact that the United States has all of the coal it could possibly need to run its electrical grid for generations. And if we were to approve offshore drilling and the exploration of oil shales, we would have perhaps 3 times the oil reserves of Saudi Arabia. According to Gingrich, if we completely exploited our own natural resources, the energy crisis that we are now facing would be an afterthought. Unfortunately, this country cannot maintain itself on the 200-year-old technologies of oil and coal. Gingrich is unwilling to jump on the bandwagon of global climate change. But the fact of the matter is, pollution is bad for the environment and for the people who live there, regardless of whether or not it affects the climate and the temperature. We need something new, something innovative, and something different. Luckily, this country has the resources to take this path. First and foremost, this country needs to implement true standards on fuel efficiency and give incentives to American automakers who achieve that efficiency, rather than simply penalizing them if they don't achieve it. If Congress were to demand that American automakers increased fuel economy by 50% within 5 years and 100% within 10 years, this country would cut its oil consumption in half within a decade. As we shift toward producing the world's most efficient internal combustion engines, we should simultaneously give performance incentives to companies like Tesla, as well as General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, for achievements in hybrid and electric transportation. If we doubled fuel economy in the next decade and simultaneously put more cars on the road which did not need gasoline or oil derivatives at all, we could completely stop the import of foreign oil into this country. At the same time, we should invest into domestic oil sources like offshore drilling and oil shales to make sure that the oil we do use is coming from a U.S. source. In doing so, we could control the environmental hazards which come with fossil fuel consumption, instead of hoping that another country will keep up to our standards. This nation also needs to remake its electrical grid. If we're going to have a fleet of electric vehicles on the road, we need some way to power them that is not just as dirty as gasoline. For this purpose, we could use technologies like clean coal to segue into an electrical economy powered by wind, solar, hydroelectric, and nuclear power, which produce absolutely no carbon emissions and very little environmental pollution. Nuclear power is perhaps the most promising of all the energy technologies because it has proven to be safe and effective for decades around the world. Nuclear power provides a constant supply of electrical output on a fraction of the input costs of similar fossil fuel power stations. During peak hours, nuclear stations would power the grid. During off-peak hours, nuclear stations could be used to produce commercially viable hydrogen for vehicles and build up stored electricity for the next day. The bounds of alternative energy are nearly limitless. For instance, there is very real research going on around the world right now as to how one could capture solar power in outer space and beam it back to the surface of the Earth. We need a government which realizes that we do not have to be dependent on Middle Eastern oil or even on the incredible amount of petroleum we import from our neighbors in Canada and Mexico. This country could be completely self-sustaining and could one day become an energy exporter once again. Gingrich rightly points out that both the Democrats and the Republicans have dragged their feet on the issue of alternative energy for far too long. They have given lip service to the idea, but have largely ignored it. This country deserves more. By increasing the funding given to the National Science Foundation and by increasing funding for research and development in general, this country could regain its place as a leading world economy. On behalf of concerned citizens, I'm Craig Harrington. For more on this and other related topics, please log on to economyincrisis.org.
Wake up, America! Open up your eyes! Wake up, America! Wake up!
Produced by economyincrisis.org.